The text from my father came at 10:23 a.m. on a Monday. Family meeting Sunday at noon. Important news about Grandma's estate. Everyone must attend. I was in my office at Sterling Consulting, reviewing a client's portfolio restructuring when my phone buzzed again. This time my sister Melissa. Did you get Dad's text? This is finally happening. We're going to be rich. I stared at both messages, a familiar knot forming in my stomach. My grandmother had passed away 6 months ago at 93. The funeral had been elaborate. Full Catholic Mass, reception at the country club, enough flowers to fill a greenhouse. Dad had handled everything, repeatedly mentioning how expensive it all was. I'd offered to help with costs. He'd waved me off. Don't worry, Natalie. There's plenty of money. Mom was very comfortable. That was February. It was now August, and apparently the estate was finally settled. My office phone rang. Unknown number but local area code. Natalie Chin. Ms. Chin? This is Richard Morrison from Morrison Caldwell and Associates. I'm the trustee executor for the estate of Catherine Chin. Do you have a moment to speak privately? My grandmother's trust attorney. The knot in my stomach tightened. Of course. Let me close my door. I apologize for the delay in contacting you, Richard said. The estate settlement took longer than anticipated due to some complications. I wanted to reach out before your father convenes any family meetings. What complications? Perhaps it's better if we meet in person. Are you available this afternoon? Say 3 p.m. I'll be there. Morrison, Caldwell and Associates occupied the top floor of the Wells building downtown. Old money, old establishment, the kind of law firm that had handled wealthy families' affairs for generations. Richard Morrison was exactly what I expected. Silver hair, bespoke suit, an office that screamed quiet competence. He stood when I entered, shaking my hand with genuine warmth. Miss Chin. Thank you for coming on such short notice. He opened a thick folder on his desk. Let me start by saying your grandmother was an extraordinary woman. Sharp as a tack right to the end. She worked with our firm for 42 years. She was always very organized, I agreed. Indeed. Which brings me to why I called you. He slid a document across the desk. This is the Catherine Chin Irrevocable Trust, established in 1995 and amended multiple times. The final amendment was made 8 months before her death. I scanned the document. Legal language, dense paragraphs, multiple schedules attached. The trust assets total approximately $8.7 million, Richard continued. Your grandmother accumulated considerable wealth through shrewd investing and frugal living. $8.7 million. My mind reeled. Grandma had lived in a modest house, drove a 15-year-old Buick clipped coupons. I'd had no idea. Your father, Richard said carefully, has been under the impression that he is the primary beneficiary of this trust. He's been in contact with our office multiple times over the past 6 months, inquiring about distributions, asking about access to funds. And he's not the primary beneficiary. You are. The office seemed to tilt slightly. I'm sorry, what? Richard turned the document to a flagged page. Per the final amendment executed last October, you, Natalie Marie Chin, are designated as the sole primary beneficiary of the trust. 100% of assets transfer to you. I read the words 3 times. They didn't change. Your father, your sister, and your uncle are listed as contingent beneficiaries only. Since you didn't predecease your grandmother, they inherit nothing from the trust itself. Nothing. There are small specific bequests outside the trust. Your father receives your grandmother's car and $25,000. Your sister receives jewelry valued at approximately $8,000. Your uncle receives the house and $25,000. But the liquid assets, the investment accounts, the cash, the portfolio, all of that goes to you. My hands were shaking. Why? Richard pulled out another document, a letter in my grandmother's handwriting. She left this for you. I took the letter with trembling fingers. My dearest Natalie, if you're reading this, I've passed on and Richard has told you about the trust. I imagine you're shocked. Let me explain. I made you the primary beneficiary because you're the only one in this family who doesn't need the money. You worked your way through college. You built your career through merit. You live within your means. You've never asked me for a penny. Your father and sister have been asking me for money for years. Loans they never repaid. Investments in failed ventures. Emergencies that were really luxury purchases. I gave them money because they're family. But I watched them waste every dollar. They think I'm senile. They don't notice when they talk about my money like it's already theirs. Your sister once told her friend, right in front of me, that she was waiting for the old lady to finally die so we can access the real money. I heard that. I heard a lot of things they thought I was too old to understand. So I changed my will. I put everything in trust for you because I know you'll use it wisely. Your father will be angry. He's been planning how to spend his inheritance for a decade. Let him be angry. You owe him nothing. You were the grandchild who visited because you wanted to, not because you wanted something. Thank you for that, sweetheart. All my love, Grandma. I read it twice, tears blurring the words. She loved you very much, Richard said quietly. The trust is ironclad. Your father has no legal recourse to contest it. He doesn't know, I said. He thinks he's inheriting. Which is why I wanted to brief you first. Natalie, I need to ask. Does your family have access to any of your financial information? Bank accounts, credit cards? The question seemed random. No. Why? Richard pulled out another file. Because 3 weeks ago your father attempted to open a line of credit using the trust as collateral. He claimed to be the trustee and attempted to authorize a $500,000 advance against the estate. My blood ran cold. He tried to borrow against Grandma's money? He did. The bank contacted us for verification and we informed them he had no authority. They denied the application. But Natalie, he's been making financial commitments based on money he thinks is coming. What kind of commitments? He put a deposit on a beach house in Florida. $200,000 financed with a bridge loan he expects to pay off with his inheritance. He also ordered a boat, $180,000, also financed. And your sister leased a Mercedes last month. I closed my eyes. They've already spent the money. They've committed to spending it, yes. Which means when they discover the truth, there will be significant financial crisis on top of emotional reaction. When are you planning to tell them? I'm not, Richard said. You are. This is your inheritance. Your grandmother wanted you to control how and when this information is shared. Sunday arrived too quickly. I sat in my car outside my parents' house for 15 minutes, gathering courage. Through the window I could see movement inside. Dad's booming laugh. Melissa's high-pitched excitement. My aunt and uncle, cousins I barely knew, all gathered for the big announcement. I walked in to find champagne already flowing. Real champagne, expensive bottles. Natalie. Finally. Dad grabbed me in a hug that smelled of cologne and alcohol. Today's a celebration. The living room was full. Mom, Melissa, Uncle Tom, Aunt Carol, 3 cousins. Everyone dressed nicely, anticipating good news. Now that everyone's here, Dad announced, standing in front of the fireplace, I want to share wonderful news. Mom's estate has finally been settled, and as I expected, she left us very comfortable. How much? Melissa asked eagerly. The attorney said approximately $8.7 million in liquid assets, plus the house and personal property. Gasps around the room. My cousin Sarah actually squealed. $8 million, Uncle Tom repeated. Split how many ways? 3 primary beneficiaries, Dad said confidently. Myself, Natalie, and Tom. So roughly $2.9 million each. Of course, there are some specific bequests. Melissa gets Mom's jewelry. But the bulk is split 3 ways. He looked at me. Natalie, I know you'll want to be smart about this. We should meet with a financial advisor. Dad, I interrupted. That's not correct. He blinked. What's not correct? The distribution. The beneficiaries. None of that is correct. Natalie, I've spoken with the attorney multiple times. When did you last speak with Richard Morrison? Richard? I haven't spoken to him directly. I've been communicating with the paralegal. She didn't tell you the actual distribution. Or more likely, you assumed and she didn't correct you. The room went silent. Melissa set down her champagne. Nat, what are you talking about? I pulled out the trust documents. Grandma established an irrevocable trust in 1995. She amended it multiple times, most recently 8 months before her death. I met with Richard Morrison on Monday. I'm the sole primary beneficiary. Dad's face turned red. You're one of 3 primary beneficiaries. No, Dad. I'm the only one. The trust leaves 100% of the liquid assets to me. $8.7 million. All of it. The silence was absolute. Melissa laughed nervously. That's insane. Grandma wouldn't cut out her own son. She didn't cut him out. He gets the car and $25,000. Uncle Tom gets the house and $25,000. Melissa, you get her jewelry. But the money, all of it, comes to me. That's impossible. Dad's voice rose. She wouldn't do that. We had conversations. She promised nothing, I said quietly. You assumed. Uncle Tom found his voice. We'll contest it. That trust was made when Mom was elderly, probably not of sound mind. She was completely sound, I said. Richard has medical documentation confirming her mental competence at every amendment. The trust is ironclad. Dad grabbed the documents from my hands, scanning desperately. His face went from red to pale. This can't be right, he whispered. The beach house. I put down $200,000. The bridge loan, I have to pay it back within 60 days or you lose the deposit and still owe the loan, I finished. Yes. Richard told me you've been making financial commitments based on money you don't have. Melissa stood abruptly. The Mercedes. I just leased. Oh my God. I can't afford the payments on my salary. I thought. You thought you were about to be rich, I said. So you spent money you didn't have yet. This is your fault. Dad pointed at me, his hand shaking. You poisoned her against us. You manipulated her. I visited her, I said calmly. I spent time with her because I loved her. Not because I wanted her money. Bullshit. Melissa's voice was shrill. You were playing the long game. Waiting for her to die so you could take everything. I pulled out Grandma's letter. She left this explaining exactly why she made this decision. I don't want to hear her excuses. Dad shouted. She didn't betray you, I said. She just stopped enabling you. Uncle Tom stepped forward. Natalie, be reasonable. That's a lot of money for one person. Surely you can share. Share what? Money I didn't earn? That you deserve a portion because you're related to her. Yes. Melissa cried. We're family. Family shares. Family respects each other, I countered. Family doesn't talk about Grandma like she's a bank account with a pulse. He heard you say that, Melissa. 2 years ago at Christmas. You told your friend you were waiting for the old lady to finally die. She heard you. Melissa's face went white. I didn't, that was. You meant it. And she knew it. That's why she changed the trust. Dad sank into a chair, face in his hands. What am I supposed to do? The beach house, the boat, the bridge loan. I'm financially ruined. You're financially overextended, I corrected. Because you spent money you didn't have. That's not my problem. Not your problem. I'm your father. You let yourself lose everything the moment you counted money that wasn't yours. Mom spoke up quietly. Natalie, honey. Your father made mistakes, but he's still your father. Surely you can share some of the money. He needs to face the consequences of his choices, I said. This money is mine to manage as I see fit. And I'm not bailing out people who've been planning my grandmother's funeral like it was a lottery win. You cold-hearted bitch, Melissa spat. I hope that money makes you happy because you'll have no one. We're done. This family is done. Good, I said simply. Because this stopped feeling like family a long time ago. I walked to the door. For what it's worth, Grandma left instructions. Dad gets $25,000 in the car. Melissa, the jewelry is worth about $8,000. Uncle Tom, the house is fully paid off. That's it. Uncle Tom asked. $25,000 from an $8.7 million estate? That's what Grandma decided you deserved, I said. I left them there, their champagne going flat, their celebration turned to ashes. 2 weeks later, Dad showed up at my office. Security called up. Miss Chin? There's a Richard Chin in the lobby. He doesn't have an appointment. He says it's an emergency. I sighed. Send him up. Dad looked terrible. Unshaven, rumpled suit, exhausted. Thank you for seeing me, he said. You threatened to make a scene. That's not earning goodwill. I'm desperate. He sank into the chair. The bridge loan is due in 2 weeks. If I can't pay, I lose the deposit and still owe $200,000. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Your mother and I could be homeless. You own your house outright. How are they foreclosing? His face flushed. I took out a home equity loan to cover the boat deposit. I thought I'd pay it off with the inheritance. How much do you owe? $320,000. I stared at him. You've been retired 3 years. You have no income except Social Security. How did any bank approve that? I may have exaggerated our financial situation. You committed fraud. Please. Tears welled in his eyes. I'm begging you. Just enough to cover the loans. I'll pay you back. I'll sell the house, whatever you want. I thought about Grandma's letter. About her watching them treat her like a bank account for years. No, I said. No. I'm not giving you money to bail you out. Grandma left you $25,000. Use that. $25,000 doesn't even make a dent. Then sell the car she left you. Declare bankruptcy if you have to. But I'm not funding your mistakes. Dad's face hardened. Fine. Don't help. But don't expect to be part of this family anymore. You chose money over us. I chose to honor Grandma's wishes, I said. You chose to spend money that wasn't yours. We both made our choices. He left without another word. 3 months later, Dad declared bankruptcy and lost his home. He and Mom moved into a small apartment. Melissa defaulted on the Mercedes lease and got her first full-time job in 5 years because she had no choice. Uncle Tom sold Grandma's house and retired in Arizona. And I invested the $8.7 million exactly as Grandma would have wanted. I also established a scholarship fund in her name for first-generation college students. $100,000 annually. The family stopped speaking to me entirely. No calls, no texts, no holiday invitations. But I received a letter from a scholarship recipient, an 18-year-old girl named Maria, first in her family to attend college. She thanked me for making her education possible. I framed that letter and hung it in my office. Grandma had been right. The money was better spent building something beautiful than bailing out people who refused to build anything for themselves. Grandma's money is for all of us, Dad had announced. He was wrong. It was for me. Because I was the only one who'd earned it by loving her instead of her money.